All right, so we're gonna end this show talking about your boy Edgar Berlanga, who is fighting in Madison Square Garden this weekend against Jason Quigley. So Berlanga is supposed to be the next Puerto Rican sensation. The guy, I believe, won his first 14 fights by first round KO. He's 20-0 with 16 knockouts. And he's fighting, he's known as the chosen one, and he's fighting Jason Quigley out of Ireland, who's 20-14. But with 2 losses, and those 2 losses are by KO. He lost his last, not his last fight, but his last loss was against Demetrius Andrade. He lost by 2nd round KO. And then before that, he was stopped by Toriano Johnson. He retired in the 9th round. So this is essentially a showcase fight for Berlanga. He is trying to position himself to get the ultimate prize, which is that bout against Canelo Alvarez. But we'll start with Coach Dave, and just kind of give me your initial impressions about Edgar Berlanga. And we're not even going to go through the pundit picks for this weekend, but just kind of, do you think that we're going to see the type of show-stopping performance that would warrant him to have a fight against somebody like a Canelo Alvarez?
Berlanga probably stopped the kid. I can't say it warrants him. I don't even know if this Quigley guy, if he can stop this guy impressively, first, second round, maybe in terms of from the WBO perspective. I mean, I think Berlanga was ranked in the WBO. If somebody got boxing scene it up, just take a look from it.
No,
but
what section body has him at 3? Yeah, which I was surprised.
He's ranked 3rd in the IBF and 5th in the WBO. This is a WBO sanctioned fight, interestingly, which might affect things. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So no. So I think Jared kind of hit where I was headed at then. So three in the, what'd you say? 3 in the IBF, 5th in the WBO.
Yes.
So I mean, see, I probably have to let Jared talk on that, because to be honest with you, in terms of skill wise, I would say no, this cat ain't ready. But money wise, fighting Canelo, what it does, I just, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You got Saul, and I think Berlanga's Puerto Rican, right? So, whatever the Latino flavor, however that might work out, man. But in terms of skill wise, whether he knocks his dude out or don't knock him out, I think that there are many other fights that should be higher up for Canelo than this guy, you know what I'm saying? Period. You know what I'm saying? And I done named them before. So, Canelo punk ass right now, to me, who I done named the ones in many of these broadcasts that he should have been trying to fight. So he might just take damn Berlanga because it's easier to fight or whatever, man. But fuck Canelo to me, man. That's my take on it, man. So
well, yeah. So I'm not a big fan of Edgar Berlanga. I think that he's always been a hype job. Even when he was getting his knockouts, they weren't these impressive kind of knockouts where he had this kind of undeniable power. I think he was a product of really adept matchmaking. And he showed some mental fragility, because if you remember in the fight against Alexis Angulo, he was having some trouble in that fight. I guess he was mad that he couldn't get the guy out there, but he tried his best with his Mike Tyson impression. Remember he tried to bite Angulo. I don't know if y'all remember that.
I do remember he did. He tried to bite that motherfucker. Yeah, he sure did try to bite Angulo.
Yeah. But so Boston Jared, so kind of give us your take on this upcoming fight this weekend. And I know you have some insight into some of these fights with Canelo and other things of that nature. But do you see him with an impressive win actually thrusting himself into the position to get a fight against Canelo coming this fall?
If the fight were within the IBF, I think that you would, without question, see Willie School, who was the #1 ranked guy, who nobody outside of the hardest of hardcore boxing circles knows who he is. You would see Willie School get dropped and replaced with Edgar Berlanga, who was ranked 3rd in the IBF. If this were an IBF sanctioned fight, according to BoxRec, this is a WBO sanctioned fight, an NABO sanctioned fight, and Demetrius Andrade is the #1 ranked guy in the WBO and is in position to become Canelo Alvarez's mandatory. And I don't see the WBO dropping Andrade out of 1 and replacing him with Berlanga. That would make the news. That would cause a bit of a stir on YouTube and within the YouTube box community. I don't see that happening. So yeah, I could see him definitely jumping to #2, which would set up a very interesting opportunity for Demetrius Andrade and having a Cape Verde versus Puerto Rico fight in New York, which would be fucking insane. Having grown up in Boston, I know the type of cultural clashes and tension that exists between those two communities, and that would be something. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't be anywhere near that motherfucker without a security detail and a staff-proof vest. But that's a needle-moving fight. There's the fight that Demetrius really, really needs.
I think for a young fighter like I think for a young fighter like Edgar Berlanga, I think.
but that don't fit the timeline. So if we talking about Canelo, he only fights on 2 days. So unless you're talking about May of 24, that can work out. Andrade Berlanga and the winner fight Canelo, but Canelo looking for a dance partner for September.
And we'll actually get to that in 1 second. But I think one is in February, right? And I think this is why Boston, has a little bit of his sentiments. So in February, Berlanga signed with Matchroom, whatnot, after being a long time, fighter for Top Rank or whatnot. And then part of, signing with Matchroom and then fighting under DAZN is the feeling that, okay, that'll make it easier. That's a straight line into getting a fight with Canelo Alvarez. But with Eddie Hearn, he even said himself that he sees that fight happening sometime in next May or not. Either as, I don't know if the sanctioning body politics or if he feels that he needs to kind of sell the fight or build the fight up a little bit more, but he sees that fight happening in May. But, throwing it to you, the casual Rand, do you see him as a formidable challenge to say he gets past this weekend? Do you see him as a formidable challenge against Canelo Alvarez?
No, and I don't think the IBF believes he's a formidable challenge. If you look, he's ranked #11 and #3.
11 in the WBC.
No, look under the IBF.
Oh
he's
shit! Now you're right. That's bizarre. You're looking at boxing and saying that's got to be some sort of typo.
They told me that they don't believe in his ass either.
Well, that's bizarre. That must be some kind of whatever. Go ahead. Sorry. Wow.
I mean, credit to Boston. He's been calling this out since probably like last year. The right was on the wall that there was going to find a way for Canelo to fight Berlanga. Sorry ass. So I think he's a hype job. I think he's actually worse than my nemesis Munguia. So now it's
At
Berlanga.
this point, yeah, I think he is worse than Munguia.
I mean,
Yeah, so
come on, like let's at least give Munguia credit. This guy has some name on his ledger.
he stepped up this last fight, but before then, no.
He did.
And then I still don't give him all the credit of the last fight because he was coming in probably 20 pounds bigger.
Man,
yeah,
that's just
Berlanga is a gigantic kid too, though. Berlanga will have.
But if you
20
make
pounds
weight,
on
you make weight. That's just like okay.
And
That means
technically, if we score
Devin Haney any credit.
I would say that Munguia won that fight.
What I'm saying, you had a caveat in there. That's just like not giving Devin Haney credit for being Lomachenko because he outweighed him by at least 15 pounds.
Well, I still say Munguia sucked, but now I say Berlanga sucks worse than Munguia, and he definitely shouldn't get a title shot with Canelo. And if you really want to talk real, fucking Munguia might come out the woodworks and challenge Canelo for the 168 title.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. You might now what you might see real quick, Cam. What you might see is Canelo vacate if he is dead set on that date. If he is dead set on that date, what you will probably see is Canelo vacate that WBO and then fight Berlanga in September. If he is really dead set, but he can't leapfrog Andrade. So sorry, go ahead. I know.
And that's one thing we've always been talking about. Like, he's already undisputed, so he can relinquish all the belts and just fight whoever the fuck he want to fight without any mandatories, and still get $40 million a fight.
So let's
maybe.
So let's kind of stay there, and we'll wrap up this and talk about Canelo's most likely opponent. So from what I've been reading, and this is from Eddie Hearn, and I don't know if it's just Cap, but from the interviews that he's been doing, is that the B-ball talks have broken down, in fighting Canelo. I think, particularly, I don't think Canelo wanted to put up his 168 pound, belt, but he's saying that the most likely person that he will fight come this fall is Jamal Charlo, which I think is, I think on them it's smart. I think it's a viable name that people have saying that Canelo doesn't like fighting black fighters. He doesn't, like fighting, slick fighters and this or that nature. But he's also getting somebody who is coming off of a 2-year hiatus and has been dealing with his own kind of, mental health issues and going through a divorce and all that. So if you're trying to get somebody, but it might backfire, right? So we thought that your boy Teofimo Lopez was having those same issues, and he put on a performance of a lifetime. But so Kajaran, we'll stay with you. What do you see as his most likely? If you had to put money on it at this time.
Now, I mean, if you got looking at the fire, looking through the fire, I think Charlo might be the best choice. I mean, because the big Charlo ain't like little Jamel. You know what I'm saying? Jamel is the dog out of the twins now. So big Maul is good, but I don't think he is dedicated to the art is Jamel. Two.
He's also the one that's undefeated too. He's the only one that's undefeated.
But look, you know what I'm saying? Look at his record. Look at how, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You just look at his track record though. Yes. And so when I say you look at the fire, you look at the Benavidez, the Morel, who else is the Skull and the Andrade. Who you gonna choose out of them? To me, it would be Charlo. It'll be a name that's gonna get the tickets, fan base. So that fan base is gonna take Andrade out of it. Skull is out of it. So you got Morel and Benavidez, and I don't think he really want to get in the ring with those two. So that only leaves Charlo as viable options, unless you find a way to at Munguia that's at number 2. in the WBC.
Now, if I can jump in real quick, I do have a little bit of inside info on this, and I'd asked, and I am able to disclose this. What I was told was that while Charlo is the primary option, Charlo is also looked at as the least viable from the network standpoint. So from the zone standpoint, there is a lot of shit that they have to get through, a lot of business hurdles that they would have to overcome in order to make the Charlo fight.
Well, that'd be the same Andrade, though. That'd be the same.
Andrade, remember, so Andrade, his contractual obligations are slightly different than what Charlo's are. One. Number two, Andrade is actually ranked at 168 pounds, where Jamal Charlo is not ranked at 168 pounds, which brings up the other point that was told to me was the potential of the catch weight. And as they're looking at a potential catch weight to even make this fight happen, right? Because Charlo's a 160-pound champ. Canelo is a 168-pound champ. And they would also not put Canelo's belts on the line if it were a catch weight. Is the other thing that I was told.
No,
that's some bullshit.
That makes no sense. Anything over 160 pounds is a super middleweight bout.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
When Floyd Mayweather, when he fought Canelo at 152 pounds, it just has to be over that weight class, then officially, but you can go lower than that, but that's just the highest that you can weigh is 168.
All right, what I'm telling you, what I was told is his belts would not be on the line for catch weight, is what I was told straight up, and which is another hurdle in making this fight. One of many. And what I was told was that actually a guy like Andrade, who is an option, and I happen to know that Andrade has been back in the gym now for the last couple of weeks. Andrade is being looked at as a distant second option for this fight because there's so much shit they have to get through to make a Charlo fight. They want to make it. Canelo's camp apparently wants to make it, but the network is very, very, very reluctant to want to have to bend over backwards again, like they did for Ryan and Tank, to make this fight. They'd rather just do the in-house fight.
That's bullshit because the Tank was the A side.
It's not bullshit. I'm telling you from a guy who actually works at.
Yeah, but Tank was the A side, so they had to power down the PBC. This one, Canelo is Canelo, and you know what I'm saying. PBC, they're not bowing down to PBC. They're the challenging fighter. So I don't understand what's the bow down to.
They didn't do that shit with Munguia, Charlo. They wouldn't even let Munguia go over there to fight for Charlo's belt.
That was Oscar. That was Oscar. No, that wasn't even Munguia. That was Oscar.
It wasn't just Oscar. I'm telling you what I know. It wasn't just Oscar.
Man, that was Oscar, bro.
It wasn't. It wasn't just Oscar.
Munguia wanted to fight. Munguia wanted to fight.
There's no other fight.
I know Munguia wanted to fight. I know Munguia wanted to fight, but what I'm saying, there's the promoter who has a say, and there's the network. You still bringing fighters to PBC would be the B-side fighter. You know what I'm saying? Munguia is the B-side. I don't know if they looked at it that way.
How? He didn't know Charlo was the champion.
I understand that, but I don't think that the zone and them saw it that way. I'm just telling you what I was told.
The zone is on some bullshit then, because
I'm just telling you what I was told. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting next couple of weeks. It's gonna be a real interesting next couple of weeks. They're gonna have to definitely do a whole lot of gymnastics and finagling and bartering to pull off this fight, because he don't want to fight Demetrius Andrade. He would much rather fight Charlo or Berlanga, and he don't want to vacate those belts, because if he was willing to do that, in my opinion, he'd have done it already.
Yeah, true. But there's no need for him to still be carrying the belts. He can vacate and still be Canelo.
Well, I'm gonna say that he's gonna fight Charlo, and if he does, then my prediction is gonna come true, because I said that before this year wraps up, that Canelo was going to fight either Charlo or Benavidez, and I think that he's going to go ahead and fight Benavidez. I was a little
Benavidez or
back.
Charlo?
What's that?
Benavidez or Charlo? You think you just said Charlo?
No, I said that by the end of this year he's going to fight either one of those two, Charlo or Benavidez, and it looks like he's going to fight Charlo. But at first I didn't think it was going to come to fruition because of this, madness with Badu Jack. But we've also talked about how Canelo was trying to get him to come down to 100, which was ridiculous. We won't get into that. But I would, if I had to, I would put my money on Charlo getting that fight. And I think it's because, be honest, I think it's because that Canelo thinks that they're getting a vulnerable fighter at this time.
At what weight? At what weight you think it's going to happen at?
From everything that I've been seeing, is gonna be at 168, but I'm kind of looking through some news here and I don't see anything, but I see it's, it's at 168. I mean, come on, you can't sit there and hoard the belts and defend the belts by not fighting at that weight and just saying that you're undisputed, champion, right? So that's the reason why he didn't want to fight Bivol. And then if he uses that as an excuse, because he's not going under. I mean, I don't think he's going under 168 pounds. I don't really see him being that. I don't think his body, he's a pretty thick, solid, what I'm saying? He's a young man, but he's not that young.
So who do you think sanctions the fight?
Who sanctioned the fight? His partners in hand, WBC.
WBC, huh? That's gonna really, if you the Benavidez family, you're gonna have a strong words from Mauricio Suleiman if the WBC sanctions a 168-pound undisputed fight for Jamal Charlo, who has never fought at that division. That's like lawsuit type shit. I will, right? I mean, Dave, you in the business, like, I mean, what?
Yeah. Hey, man, that's, yeah.
It is. He might. I mean, they might throw him a couple of ducats.
I don't know.
Step aside.
Everybody know about this quote, step aside money, but yeah, man, I don't know. 168 WBC sanction over Benavidez.
It'll be hard.
That'd be some shit. That'd be some shit.
But look, no, but pick any division at 168 other than the IBF, and you're gonna have some problems, man. You're gonna have some any division. Benavidez, Morel, Andrade, any sanctioning body other than the IBF, you probably gonna have some problems. That's my take. And again, I'm not even one that's sharp with this stuff like Boston is. I'm just looking at it from a promoter's point of view right now. Like, you have some problems with any division, probably other than the IBF.
Yeah,
which is why the catchweight to me makes the most. Which is why the catchweight is being talked about already.
Yeah.
But when you say a catchweight at like over 168 pounds, like 170?
No, like 165 or 164. You said what, Dave?
Yeah, I was about to say 165, 164, and and to me, catchweight's a bunch of crap anyway, because all you're trying to do is minimize possibly how much you think somebody might hydrate back up. That's all that is to me. Seriously.
I mean, catchweight.
Well, they'd be trying to bypass the sanctioning bodies here for this particular fight. I didn't even ask about it. And my guy over there, he's not a boxing guy, right? He's over there for promoting and marketing, he asked me a lot of boxing stuff. He brought catchweight up before I even said anything. He was like, yeah, it's this guy, it's Charlo's a front runner, and it's gonna be tough, but they're talking catchweight. He threw out catchweight. They're already talking about catchweight for him and Charlo. So I didn't even bring it up. He's the one that brought it up.
If they do a catchweight, then that would benefit Charlo.
He gets a huge fucking check. And if
Well,
he
no,
wins,
well, I'm just saying that it would benefit Charlo because you're making Canelo fight at a weight that he hasn't fought at in maybe 5 years. You know, Charlo.
it's a huge fight. You do that fight in Texas, it's a huge fight. And if the fight is competitive, you do the fight again. That's 2 fights. Canelo's happy because he don't have to fight guys who he don't want to fight. Charlo's happy because it's the fight he's always wanted. He gets a huge check. It's just the networks and splitting profit. They don't want to do joint promotions because they got to split revenue. They got to do all this nonsense. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I don't want to hold folks up though. I know y'all are an hour ahead of me. I know it's getting late for some of y'all.
No, I think this is a kind of a good way to kind of segment, but I just wanted to, so like the lowest that Canelo has fought. So I take that back. So he fought at 159 pounds in 2019 against Daniel Jacobs. So it does seem like he does still have the body and viability to get down to that weight. So 165 wouldn't be that bad, but all
you gotta do is call the pharmacist, Cam. You act like this guy hasn't tested positive for PEDs before. All he got to do is make a call to whoever his local pharmacist, and he'll make 165 pounds just fine. He'll look like an action figure. He'll be able to throw more punches. He's actually a better fighter at lower weights. He's more mobile. He can throw more punches. He's a little bit snappier, I think. So it ain't nothing. All you gotta do is call the pharmacist, and he'll cut that weight. He'll cut that weight, no problem. He'll have veins popping out of his forehead and all that shit. Pimples on his, but whatever, it don't matter. And Charlo won't care.
Wow, he should. Well, on that note, Coach, you got anything that you want to end with?
Man, not nothing really, man. I just I just think that we'll see, man. We'll see. And I ain't really a big fan of Canelo's, bro, but if it ain't, the name ain't and daggone Benavidez, Morrell, Andrade, or Charlo, I don't care who he fights, man.
Yeah. So I'm banking that he will fight a Charlo, but we will see that. If he fights a Berlanga in the fall, I promise you, I will not be watching that fight. That's such a farce. I'll watch the replay, but I'm not gonna watch it live, and I'm definitely not paying for no pay-per-view for that fight.
Yeah, man. Me too on that.
All right, this is Professor Nims. I'm signing out for my man Boston Jared.
Peace.
Coach Dave.
Yeah, Rue.
My man Kadri had to leave a little bit early, but thank you for tuning in for another episode of Pop Talk. And we are out.
Hey.